Hi, Dr. Brad Nelson here. I'm the author of The Emotion Code, creator of the Body Code System. I have a very special guest today, Dr. Alex Loyd, who is a good friend of mine, and also, of course, is the author of the Healing Code. Or actually, is it Healing Code or Healing Codes, Alex?
The book is Healing Code singular, Brad.
Okay, Healing Code, and also the Love Code, right?
That's right.
And the new book, The Memory Code.
Right.
And today we're going to be talking about memory engineering. Before we get to that, though, can you share with everybody what brought you to this point? How'd you get here?
Yeah. The biggest, and I don't like motivation. But I think most motivation is usually external and kind of fades away. But kind of the biggest inspiration thing for me was my wife. We got married, Brad, 1986, believing our life was going to be happily ever after. And in less than 2 years, we both were very unhappy. She kicked me out of the house. She was severely depressed. I mean, it's like our whole life was falling apart around us. And I just didn't believe that that was what God intended for us. So instead of just laying down and accepting it or doing whatever the standard medical doctors said, we started searching, and that's the reason I went back to school. I didn't go back to school, Brad, as a career path. It was to try to become an expert in depression to help my wife when nothing else seemed to help her much. So that's probably the biggest factor for me being here.
Wow. Well, it's interesting, how many healers you meet that have some kind of a personal story like that.
That's right. That's right. Almost all of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where it was either their own health or their own crisis or someone that they really cared about that they were really trying to help. So
I think it puts that fire in your heart, I heard a quote one time, and it was that the man who knows what he wants to do in his life is a fortunate man, but the man who has to do something, you'll never have a day of work. And I don't know about you, but that's how I've felt ever since I started on this. It wasn't work to me. It didn't feel like work to me. It was a joy. It was two steps forward, one step back at times, but I loved it. It wasn't like a job, and I think that's because deep inside, it's something I had to do, not just chose to do or wanted to do.
yeah, I can totally relate to that. You and I have been on this kind of parallel path for much of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, didn't know each other for a long time, but yeah, we were.
yeah, and then we finally met up in Switzerland at one of Cy Basel's events, and it was so fun to connect because you and I have so much in common. So tell us a little bit about this, about memory engineering, and because I know that's got to be an interesting topic for everybody. Oh, by the way, let's say hello to everybody that's on the call. So Barbara, hello, and Vanessa. Ingrid says, looks like beards are trendy these days. Yeah. Well, we're locked up at home, so what do we do? So
That's right.
go ahead.
Yeah, I can do that, Brad. With me, it started back in graduate school. I was in my third year of my PhD program at Tennessee State University, and there were 6 of us who had gotten to be really good friends. One guy in particular, we met in our first class, and we took every class together for 4 straight years. Great friends, but there were 6 of us we'd go out and get a pizza and we would talk and stuff. And I'll never forget, it was our last year, the third year of our PhD program, and we were sitting in the hall waiting for one class to end so our class could start. And we all knew it was all about the memories. All right. I mean, that's Freud. I'm the farthest thing in the world from a Freud fan. I think he had more problems than about any client I've ever had. Now, he was also a genius, but even that far back, we knew it was about the memories. Freud would get people on his couch and, okay, talk about your mother. I mean, everybody knows that. And pretty much the therapists, psychologists, the different schools of psychology ever since then, even if they use different languaging, it was still all about the memories. But no one had ever figured out a easy step-by-step way that I'd ever seen to fix a memory that's causing you problems. So the six of us in our last year, we got onto this and we started talking about it all the time. We'd talk about it on the phone. We'd talk about it while we were there. We would ask our professors. And I'll never forget, Brad, one time we were sitting there in the hall and the other class had just ended, or we never would have done this. And we tried everything. I mean, we tried hypnotizing each other. We had tried, guided imagery. Okay, you're going through a beautiful field, and what you're carrying in your backpack is this problem, whatever that was in your life. This incident with your mom or dad, or on the playground in kindergarten or something. And then you carry it and bury it or burn it up or something, and then the issue's supposed to be gone, only it's not. And we had tried all these things. And I'll never forget one time we were getting so desperate that what we tried is one of us, one of the six, was sitting on the floor, and they had told us their big issue that they'd never been able to heal, still couldn't. And so this time what we tried, Brad, is we did 1, 2, 3, and then all five of us yelled as loud as we could right in that person's ear the opposite of their negative memory. And of course it didn't work. I mean, no way it was going to work. But anyway, 30 years ago, I was working on that. I'm praying about it. I've been working on it ever since for probably, the 25, 26 years since then. And anyway, the kind of, to not bury the lead, at about 25 years, I believe I cracked the code. You and I both like that code word. I believe I kind of cracked the code of how to literally go into your mind, or what ancient manuscripts call the spiritual heart, and re-engineer a negative memory so that it is possibly positive, but at least no longer negative.
Very cool. Yeah. So so you've figured it out. You kind of cracked the code. Who was the first person you used this on?
Me, of course. And outside of me, I think it was my oldest son, Harry. But I ran into 7 what I call deadly forces that will, and the thing about these, Brad, and I'm sure you already know most of them or all of them, but the thing about this is any one of these can keep you from healing. Any one of these can keep that memory negative, sending that negative signal to your brain, throwing you into stress. And I'll go through them really fast. The first one is called psychological adaptation, and it is a absolutely miraculous software program that God put in us, basically to make us okay in any possible situation in 6 months or less. And that's exactly what it does. In fact, one of the studies on this, they took a group of brand new lottery winners, and I mean lottery winners that became big time millionaires overnight, and a group of brand new paraplegics who had just been in a horrible accident and were paralyzed for the rest of their life with basically no hope of ever walking again. And they gave both groups all these psychological, emotional tests and physiological tests, brain states, pulse rate, HRV, galvanic skin response, all that sort of thing. And as you might imagine, the lottery winners' scores were through the roof, good, and the new paraplegics were under the floor, bad. All right. 6 months later, there's no intervention at all of any kind. 6 months later, they give both groups the exact same test again, and there's no difference. The paraplegics are just as happy and fulfilled with their life, just as excited about their future as the lottery winners. And that may sound like time heals all wounds, but Brad and I probably both know that is not always true for sure.
Definitely.
Okay, sometimes time makes it a lot worse. This is not time. This is a program God put in us to make us okay no matter what the situation in 6 months or less. The problem is, in most people that I see in my client counseling room, psychological adaptation isn't working in them. They are too stressed. There's too much negative energy, and it keeps psychological adaptation from working. So that's one of them. And Brad, just stop me anytime you want to interject here.
No, keep going. So that's the first one.
Okay.
Of
That's
the
the first one. The second one is called Belief Perseverance. And a new best-selling book came out about a year ago about this, made the New York Times bestseller list based on a new study. And basically what they found, Brad, is that if you have a deeply held belief, and unfortunately, most of our negative beliefs are deeply held. And this is what they found in the study too. But if you have a deeply held belief and are presented conclusive evidence that that belief is in error and something else is the truth about that situation, if you have belief perseverance operating in you, the conclusive evidence will literally cause you to believe your old wrong belief even more than you used to.
Isn't that interesting?
And totally reject the new truth. Okay? It's a fear mechanism. It's part of that survival instinct we have. So that's the second one.
Okay.
The third one is called our experience simulator. It's your prefrontal cortex. It's how you try it before you buy it. It's like if hope is gone for the night and I'm wondering, okay, well, what am I going to do for supper? What am I going to do tonight? And I think, oh, there's this wonderful movie coming on that I'd like to see. I love really good movies. And I'm going to run to the grocery store and get me a pizza, my favorite pizza from the grocery store, bring it home, cook it up. And if I time it right, I'll be sitting in my recliner with my pizza right when the movie starts. And so I do. I go to get my pizza, but my car won't start. There's horrible traffic where there shouldn't be traffic. It starts to rain and I don't have an umbrella. I can't find a parking place close to the store. They don't have my brand of pizza, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I end up angry and cussing and all this kind of stuff. Well, how could that be? Because our prefrontal cortex is supposed to let us try it before we buy it, experience it before we decide whether to do it or not. Well, the latest research, what they found is that the average one of us has so many lies and errors in our memories that our experience simulator is making its simulation based on things that aren't true. And so we're expecting an outcome that we have no right to expect, and it keeps us angry or stressed or frustrated a lot of the time. That's the third one. The fourth one is called availability bias. And this has been in the news a lot in the last 6 months. And availability bias is very simply that I can be having a good day and I'm watching the news and they say there's a series of break-ins in a little town not far from where I live, maybe like 30 or 45 minutes. And so I become afraid. Oh man, I bet my house is going to get broken into. Or when in reality, there's a virtual 0% chance that that's going to affect me in any way. In fact, the best research on this says that over 90% of what we worry about never occurs. Well, this is taking that sort of a little bit further. When you have availability bias, it's caused by lies and errors in your memories that are creating the bias. And another part of availability bias is almost all of us have a natural tendency to lean a little bit to the negative instead of the positive. And so if we don't consciously come against that and choose the more positive and love-based path, we'll tend to be negative, and availability bias will mess us up. The fifth one is your brain states. We have 5 brain states: delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. Beta is the primary stress brain state. It's also the primary of conscious thought, logic, things like that. The important thing here is that the delta theta brainwave state, which is a non-stress brain state, the only time we live in that brain state in our entire life is the first 6 to 8 years of life. And then we never again live in delta theta brain state. The thing about delta theta brain state, though, is that if you're in that brain state and something happens, you do not have the ability to filter or logic it. And an example I might use is I'm in the backyard playing football with my son, George. And he's, let's say, 5 years old, and we're having a great time. And Hope comes to the door and says, "Hey, boys, time for lunch. Come on in." And so I say, "Okay, George, one more play for the Super Bowl. All right, you've got the ball. I'm on defense. One more play for the Super Bowl. All right." And he's all excited and fired up and taking it serious. And Brad, I'm going to let him score no matter what. Sure. Except he starts running and stubs his toe and falls right on his face. So I run over to him, grab him up in my arms, hug him, say, "I love you so much, but you know what? You are never going to be a good football player if you can't pick your feet up." Whoa, wait a minute.
Yep.
Was I abusive to him as a parent? No, I was not. No. But he's in delta theta brain state. Yeah. And now he has a message from his dad, who he highly respects, saying, "I'm never going to be a good football player." Well, it doesn't mean it's impossible for him, Brad, but it does mean that every time he goes to play football now, that memory is going to be activated, and the brain is going to send a message to his shoulder, to his arm, and he is literally going to throw the ball differently than he did before that, unless that is healed or he overcomes it just with positive willpower and repetition. And then the sixth one, I call the illusion of free will, and that's actually the title of a research study that came out in Scientific American recently. And the byline was, "What experts wish you knew about your memories." And this is a direct quote from that study. They said it would actually be more accurate, based on the definitions of the words, to call your memories illusions than it would memories, because about 50% of everything we believe is true is not true. It's errors in our memories and biases and things like that. And then the last of the seven deadly forces is relationships. because to me, every issue boils down to a relationship issue. I was in the airport, Brad, in Europe, and I picked up a USA Today. This was 2 or 3 years ago, and I've got it back here. On the front page was a study, I believe, out of Denmark that was like 30 years, 10,000 subjects, really well done study, published in a prestigious journal. And what they found was absolutely astounding to me. They found that if you have conflicted relationships, and basically that can mean one and any, if you have conflicted relationships, you're 300% more likely to get a disease and die by middle age. If you have harmonious relationships, you're 300% more likely not to get a disease and to live healthily to old age. And the only factor there is conflicted or harmonious relationships. And most people I know, Brad, have a skeleton in the closet somewhere that they've not dealt with, that is creating that negative energy, that is putting them into stress and causing things in their body to break down. So that's all 7.
That's the 7. That's fascinating. And you know, the last one about relationships makes me think about forgiveness, and how, you know, we both talked a lot about forgiveness and how important that is. And boy, that's a real key there. Think about all the people that have somebody in their life that they haven't forgiven, and what that does, and how it creates that conflict, that conflicted energy within them. And sometimes it's that they need to forgive themselves, and sometimes that's the hardest person to forgive of all. Right?
Absolutely.
Well, this is fantastic.
So what I found anyway, at about 25 years, the way I was able to, in my thinking, crack how do you fix a negative memory, it was 4 things. Number 1, you have to literally develop a relationship with your spiritual heart or unconscious mind. I mean, almost like pretending that your unconscious mind is a person. And hi, my name is Alex, and I would like to get to know you, and I would like for us to work together. Because your unconscious, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, is over 1 million times more powerful than your conscious mind. And its number 1 job is to keep you physically alive. So it doesn't care that much if it overreacts. It cares a lot if it underreacts, because if it underreacts, you may be dead. So number 1, you've got to develop a real, not surface level, but a real relationship with your heart or unconscious mind. Number 2, you have to shift the energy in your mind, heart, and body. If we were going to imagine a scale that goes from -10 over here to +10 over here, and that represented the energy inside you, body, mind, spirit, heart, all of it, okay? My guess is most people's energy is probably around -3 to -4 to possibly like 0, right in the middle. Very few that I have come to see me would be on the positive 0 to +10. Well, the thing about psychological adaptation that I've talked about before is one of those 7 major things, is it can make you okay, not only emotionally, but physically in almost any situation, unless your internal energy is just too negative. And I believe, Brad, on that -10 to +10 scale, if you are at like a -2 or greater, that's probably too much for psychological adaptation to overcome in you. So you have to start shifting that energy a little bit at a time, 1 foot in front of the other, a little bit every day, to get that internal energy a little more positive, a little more positive, a little more positive, a little more positive. And this program that I'm here to tell you about today tells you exactly how to do that. Step 1, step 2, step 3. It works every time.
Okay.
Until you get to that spot where psychological adaptation, this program made by God, grabs that and now pulls you over to the positive pretty much without any effort from yourself. So
Okay.
that's the second one. The third step is you have to create a new default memory for the negative memory that you're trying to heal. You have to create a new default so that anytime this issue comes up in the future, your mind is no longer going to go to that old memory that likely has an untruth in it, even if it's just the perception of it. Maybe the facts are right, but the thing that's wrong is, okay, because my dad hit me and said I was never going to amount to anything, then that means I'm never going to amount to anything. It's true that my dad hit me and said that. That's true. The falsehood was me believing, because he said it, that I'm not ever going to amount to anything, which I did, Brad, for 15 years of my life after my dad did that. So maybe it's not the facts, it's the interpretation, okay, because this happened, therefore something in your life. So you create a new default memory, and after 25 years, I figured out how to do it. And now, whenever anything related to this issue comes up, it doesn't go to that old one where my dad said I'm never going to amount to anything, and every time I remember that, I feel worthless. No, it goes to the new one where, yeah, my dad did say that and do that, but that was all about him, not me. It has nothing to do with my life and who I am before God and who I am with my family and who I am as a man. And so the program is several hours of video. It's like 100 and something pages manual. It's very extensive, but we also have a quick start that'll have you started in 30 minutes. And it is step by step. There's 6 steps, step by step, how to take any negative memory and either get it to neutral or even positive. It typically takes about 10 minutes. You may have to do the 6 steps twice. You may have to do the 6 steps 3 times, in which case it would be 30 minutes. But typically in 10 minutes, you'll see a significant shift. And then if you need to do more, you can do more. But anyway, I believe, and the people that I tested it on over about 5 years, that was like a 95% success rate, with people saying that the biggest negative memory of my life is no longer bothering me at all. So after 30 years, maybe I figured something out.
You cracked the code.
Maybe. Well, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it. That's fantastic. You know, if you think about these lives of ours that we're living, and how much of our present is influenced so heavily by the past and by those things we've experienced, and like you say, some of those things are back during those ages when we're so open to suggestion, and sometimes the suggestions just aren't good and aren't productive for us in the future.
Yeah, you know, Brad, the latest statistics say that about 40% of all adults have been either physically or emotionally abused in their life. And I guess I was one of those because of that one incident with my dad. But by and large, I had a pretty good upbringing. But I've never met anyone, I've never counseled anyone, I've never spoken in depth to anyone who did not have I call it a popsicle memory, which is a memory from when those early years in your life when you
Right.
were in delta theta brainwave state and somebody said something or did something that because you were in delta theta brainwave state, you misinterpreted it and it became hard drive programming for the rest of your life. I've never met anyone who didn't have usually several of those.
Oh, I think,
So,
yeah, probably everybody on Earth has those, unless they were raised by some perfect parents, and I don't think there are any.
I don't either, Brad.
I don't think so. You know, as parents, we try hard, but I think that, let me ask you if this isn't also true for you, that if you could go back and be a parent again, you'd do some things differently,
You
right?
know, probably, but when my oldest son Harry was born, and Hope and I was 26 when we got married. She was 20, and we weren't like most couples we knew. We didn't want to wait and have time to ourselves before children. We had dreamed all our life about being parents, so we wanted to have kids like right off the bat. And Hope had 3 miscarriages, and 7 years later, we're still childless. And and then Harry came along and was born, actually we thought he was just a gift from God, because we prayed so much.
Sure.
But I remember the day of Harry's birth. I was looking at him in the nursery before they took him to my wife, and I got really, really scared, Brad, and for the first time, and thought, my goodness, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to mess this kid up. And I had a thought, and I believed it was God, and I still do today. And the thought was, Alex, if you can do two things, if you can accomplish two things, you will have done okay. Number one, when he gets to 18, he's still alive. Okay. And then number two, when he gets to 18, he knows 100% beyond any shadow of a doubt that he is totally and completely loved exactly the way he is. And
Yeah.
and when I had that thought, Brad, I relaxed. I thought, oh wow, well maybe I can do that. So, and I haven't done it perfectly by any means, but yeah, there are things I would change, but I feel like God was just so gracious to me that whole time that a lot of my mistakes got washed over.
Well, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Really awesome. So let me ask you, how can people get a hold of your course here? Because it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah, very simple. Go to www.dralexanderloyd. That's my name. And remember, Loyd is with one L. All the two L's are crooks. So Loyd with
Okay.
one L. Dr. Alex, DR, no period or anything. DRALEXANDERLOYD
Okay.
.com
Hmm.
/ME.
Okay.
And ME, it stands for Memory Engineering. And you can get the package immediately. It's virtual, so you can start tonight. And I would start with the worst memory you have in your whole life. That's the one I would start with, and then go from there.
Okay. Fantastic. This looks great.
And this is, and by the way, just in case you wonder, my thing, the healing codes, is sort of pointing. Brad's thing with the emotion code is sort of touching your body and rubbing. This is none of that. There's no tapping, there's no rubbing. This is a totally different animal. But I like that because I think it works great with the emotion code. They work in harmony, not in conflict, because they're coming at the same issues, but from a different angle.
Sure. Well, my motto, and I think yours probably too, during those years, when you're in practice, you just want to figure out whatever it is that you need to figure out. You want to use whatever works. And
That's right.
yeah, I mean, because the whole point of it is to try to help these people to get well, and that's what has brought us to these situations where we are, where we've written these books and so on, because we've learned some things. But
Right.
but yeah, this is really great. Let me bring that page up again.
By the way, it has a 1 year, no questions asked, 100% money back guarantee. You use it for a whole year. If it doesn't change your 20 biggest memories, send it back. We'll give you all your money back.
So it's Dr. Alexander Loyd with 1L.com/ME.
Right. .com/ME.
Oh yeah, .com//ME. Would you believe me if I said you weren't really in control of your life, but rather that your memories control you? Yeah, well, I would definitely believe that. Yeah, absolutely. So it'll help you to re-engineer memories and break habits and eliminate your unconscious roadblocks to health, success, and happiness, and change memories in just 10 minutes a day. All right, and it's $197, and it's got a 1 year money back guarantee. That's fantastic. So if you're not satisfied in any way, you can send it back at any time.
Absolutely. And we do that sometimes. Sometimes people at 1 year say, I'm not sure, whatever it was, and no problem.
Sure.
100% money back, even though it's a year later.
Well, that's fantastic, Alex. Do you have anything else you want to share about this with everybody?
No, just that, Dr. Brad said we're pretty good friends, and I would echo that. He's probably the best friend I have in this field that we're both in, among people who are like heads of programs and stuff like that. And
Ditto.
to me, Brad, it's one reason. You're not just my peer, you're my brother. Yeah. And that means a lot to me. And so I love you, and I thank you for sharing this with your folks. And by the way, all you Dr. Nelson guys, I bet I'm a bigger fan of his than you are. I love all of his stuff. Have it, you've used it, have recommended it from before I knew him. So thank you so much, Brad. No, that's it for me. God bless you, everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. You're one of my top people on this earth, in this world, and appreciate so much all the good that you've done for so many people for so many years. And it's really just an honor to be connected with you and to be your friend. And say hi to Hope for me. And
I will. I will.
And thanks so much for sharing this with everybody. This is really really fascinating. And one of the great things about all the work that you do is that you're so thorough, and that all your research is so so deep and so relevant. So this is great. I'm going to get this package myself, because we all need it, right? We've all got those things that sometimes we remove the emotional baggage and trapped emotions about those memories and things, but sometimes there's still some of that. What was it that you called it? The psychological adaptation and so on, that there's still work we need to do. So
yeah, and if you get this, look for this. I hear this from almost every single person. When you finish the 6 steps and the memory heals, the new default clicks in, you'll tend to feel you'll tend to feel that. It's really cool. So if you happen to get this and try it, see if that happens to you once that memory changes and the new one clicks in.
Very cool. All right. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing this great info with us. Namaste, and thank you everybody else for being on with us. We'll post this on our YouTube channel as well, at Discover Healing, YouTube Discover Healing, however you get there, I don't know. And we will talk again. I'm looking forward to hanging out again in person.
Me too. Hopefully not too long. Love you, Brad. Thanks.
Love you too, man. Take care. We'll see you guys. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.